Hello friends, I am here to tell you some very interesting aviation stories. The term aviation actually refers to be able to fly in the air. And now it is not very difficult for most of us. The airline travels many of us have done, the gliding, paragliding, and many different ways and means are available for flying in the air. But ever thought how all this thing happened? I was very curious when I was in schools and always tried to find out the details on flying. And surprisingly, what I came across at that time was not in the school at that time. I was well ahead of college and then also had started my business. And I came across an article in Deepalakshmi. It was written by one eminent writer, Mr. Ashok Padye, and it was in Marathi. It was titled as The Ancient Aircraft, Prachin Vimane. So, what exactly it was? I went through and I was jacked. And I again tried a lot of different articles and all the things. Now the internet or Google was not available then, so I made the efforts to find out. And one thing I was sure that though the history is not recorded, or perhaps it might have been recorded but later on was very systematically destroyed. One fact is definite that in those days some kind of the flying object controllable by the man, what we call nowadays as Viman or aircraft, must have been present. Because without the presence of such type of the object, the lot of descriptions of our ancient scriptures will not be possible. It will be possible to describe something in that manner only if you manage to see it from a large altitude. And that was possible only when the aircraft is there. So I went through and then I found that there were many unrecorded facts. These unrecorded facts are being discovered by the people. I will show you a book by another eminent personality, Mr. V.S. Bhave. He was the official photographer of the Indian Air Force also for Government of India, and he has written this book. The name of the book is in Marathi. I will read it to you. रामाच्या पदचिन्हांवरून पुष्पक विमानाने पंख पसरले. That means the Pushpak aircraft flew following the footsteps of Sri Ram. And this was the aircraft in which Dr. Bhave studied the complete description given in Valmiki Ramayana as well as in Raghuvamsh. Raghuvamsh is written by Kalidas, and most of the descriptions there fit exactly the scenario on the earth. That means the way in Raghuvamsh the wind directions and the nature of the wind has been described. Dr. Bhave has stated in this that he experienced the same type of the winds when he was flying there. Whatever is the description of the objects that are visible on the earth, which was described by in Raghuvamsh by Kalidas, Dr. Bhave has photographed all that and it exactly resembles those verses. The meaning is that some sort of the flying object must have been present. Ashok Padye studied this quite in depth, and he has said in his article, this is a very old article from the newspapers. I have still kept a copy of that, and then it says that the basic description was given in Rigveda. The verse was Vedayo Vinam Padavantarikshena Patatam Veda Navaha Samudriya. The meaning is that the one who understands the logic of the birds flying in the air or the ships going through the water is capable of understanding the technique of flying in the air. So this is the meaning of that description. And then after that there is a large set of books. Samarangana Sutradhar, it describes very many things in detail. Vastu Shastra Sar, because aircraft or any vehicle is also considered as a Vastu. Vastu doesn't necessarily mean the house and the temples. The Vastu means every object which is created by the man is called as a Vastu. So in Vastu Shastra Sar, there is a lot of description. And there is one more totally dedicated to aircraft is Bruhat Viman Shastra. And when all such type of the things are available in India, even today, then why we can't find out what exactly it is? Then the reason was stated in that article. It said that most of our scriptures mention only the key points of that technology and not the detailed description of that. Now that details are told by the Guru to his disciple. So that is why it is the importance of Guru, or we say that everything should be learned from Guru, because Guru can give all the description in detail, whereas the scriptures give you only the key points of that. So as a result of that, the Guru was supposed to be very eminent personality and very important personality. But after the attacks by the outside countries and later on especially by Britishers, this complete system of Gurukul was totally destroyed, and what remained is that the scriptures without any meaning. And that is why from that scriptures the people started drawing any meaning which the words suggest. But every time the meaning is not same as the words suggest. I can give you an example. There is one book in which it is a completely dedicated to metallurgy. The metallurgy of the Indians was extremely and extremely advanced. Have you ever been to Delhi? There is a Ashok Stambha. It is made of steel or iron, but in so many centuries there is not a spot of rust on that. So it is the iron which never rusts, but still it is the iron. Even today nobody has ever managed to make that type of the steel. So in metallurgy the India was highly advanced, and that is why that book which describes the metallurgy describes about the furnaces and the crucibles, because to melt the metal you need the furnace and the different type of the crucibles are required. Now there is a description of the crucible which was described as the Antarmukhi moose. Antarmukhi means the crucible of which the mouth is on the inner side. Now this description was something very vague. That means if you translate it in a word to word manner, then this is just foolish description. Anybody can say that. If there is going to be any pot, how the pot can have the mouth on the inner side? The mouth will always be external to any type of spot. Then something occurred to one of the persons here. He said that suppose this is the shape of the crucible, then this is a normal pot. But if it is turned in this manner, so this is the mouth at the top. If it is turned inside, then this will be the Antarmukhi moose. That means the mouth which is turned inside. Now, what can be the purpose of this? And now the surprise happened. One of us at that time was studying the metallurgy in the engineering college, and he immediately said that yes, this is a perfect type of the arrangement, because when you melt a metal, the lighter than light elements in that or the impurities fly away along with the gas. The heavier impurities sink at the bottom. So when you pour the metal outside, the heavy metal or the impurities fall first, and after that the actual metal or the pure metal comes. Now if the pot were like this, then first all those impurities will come out, but when the pot is turned inside like this, the impurities will be arrested in that rim and only the pure metal will be poured. Now this description, actually he could find out the meaning of that. The reason is that he was studying that. The meaning is, in short, all our ancient scriptures have to be studied by the scientists and engineers and not by the people from the art. The Britishers declared the Sanskrit as a dead language and classified it in form of the arts. So what has happened today is that those who are studying in the art side don't know anything about the science, and those who are studying the science never look at the Sanskrit because it's after all a dead language as they feel. Then what about the science which is described in Sanskrit? So that is why the engineers, technologists, technocrats must study Sanskrit. Then only perhaps the meaning of all these verses will start becoming clear. So why I am telling you all these in details is that in this story that we have a lot of things and there are several proofs that such type of the things existed. Unfortunately, the people may say that okay, if it was existing, show us the proof. But everything cannot be proved by giving the material proof. Some of the things are left to the logic, and by the logical interpretation, the proofs have to be sought. And for that, the young manpower like you, especially those who are studying the engineering, those who are studying the science, must have a look at all these scriptures. Perhaps you will be the people who will be able to find out the real meaning of this. Same is about the aircraft. The logical interpretation and the books like this by Dr. Bhave, in which along with the photograph he has proved that the Setu in Ramayana really exists and even today it is existing there. And he has given a number of proofs on that. But the thing is that this is unrecorded. Unfortunately, it is a habit of all our Indians is that we do the great things but we never record it. Whereas it is exactly the other way around with these Europeans particularly, that even they do something very simple and small, they make a record of that. Because they know that today perhaps that record will be meaningless, but after some time that will be taken as a standard. Even though it is wrong, even though it is incorrect, that will be taken as a standard. And that is why all their literature, many facts are there. Not everything is true, but still people say that it is recorded. And because it is recorded, people feel it is true. So the thing is that in about the aircraft also, at least I am sure that definitely there were some sort of the aircraft. Maybe we don't know any of that technology, exactly what was the form of that, what was the nature of that, what was the power plant, what was the shape. Nothing is known today. Everything is hidden in those scriptures. But unless these scriptures are interpreted by the Indians and especially by the technologists, it will not be easy also. Well, let us come to the recorded facts. And most of these recorded facts, as I said, are European or the Western countries. There is a story in Bible about Icarus and Daedalus. They were the father and the son, and they were kept in captivity on the island of Crete, which is off the Italian mainland. They decided that they should escape. But since it was an island, the only way was to swim across, but then there are the ships which are keeping the watch. So the only other way remaining is that to be able to fly. So fly and get to the mainland of Italy. They decided to take that path. They collected the feathers of the seagulls which were landing there on the seashore, and with the wax they attached them to their hands. So the shape of the bird is something like a human being which has got the two hands spread and the wings are like two hands and the remaining body is there, something like that. And then one fine morning they decided to fly to the mainland of Italy. The father warned the child, that is the son, that don't fly too high, otherwise the sun will melt your wax and you will fall in the sea. And so it happened. The son was so happy that he could fly. He ascended up and up in the air, and then, because of the temperature of the sun, his wax melted, the feathers were all removed from his hand, and he fell into the sea. However, the Bible says that the father could reach the Italian mainland. Now this was just a story, like a mythology. This is the real mythology. The description in Ramayana or all these things, I don't think it's a mythology, because those are not myths. That's a history which has been destroyed long back. But this is definitely a mythology. Now, those were the days in Europe where more than the king, the church was more powerful. And as a result of that, everybody took this story to be true. The people tried in that manner. They collected the feathers, attached them all over their body, and tried to take off. Definitely none of them could take off from the land. So they decided that maybe if they jump from the height, then they will be able to glide, they will be able to flap the hands and travel a long distance. So they went onto the tall towers and jumped from there. The first and the last, most probably for all of them, because the weight of the human body, the area which is required to lift such a weight in the air, so no calculation, no science was known in Europe. Because you know that even Galileo was imprisoned because he told that sun is the center of the earth, center of the universe, and earth is revolving around. So you can see that the scientists were having no value in those days. And that is why these tower flyers also lost quite a lot of lives. Many of them tried and they lost their lives. People were trying in that manner. There were also the two schools of thought. Some people thought that if you have to fly in the air, then you should be lighter than air. And their logic was supported by the wood and the water. Because for example, in the water, you put any type of the wood will always float on the water, no matter whether it is a stick or whether it is a table or a chair or a cupboard or a log, whatever it is. If it is made up of the wood, then it will definitely float on the water. Similarly, if we can find something which is lighter than air, then definitely it will be able to fly in the air. But the only question is that such type of the material couldn't be found on the earth, because if at all it were, then why would it remain there on the earth? It would long back have flown out of the complete surface of the earth, because it is lighter than the air, so it will go and sit on the top of the layer of the air, and that was believed to be ether. The European scientists of those days strongly believed that the entire universe is floating in some fluid called as the ether. And then a person called, I think his name was Otto von Guericke, decided that if you can extract that ether from the outer space and fill up the copper balls, large copper balls with that ether, then with the help of such copper balls, we should be able to make the flight. The another person like him, people were thinking in a very funny manner. I really wonder how they could have thought like that. What he felt is that the dewdrops which you find on the leaves on the earth during the cold night, he thought that that was some heavenly material, because in the morning they vanish. Now we know that that is just a water, it gets vaporized and then it vanishes. But this person thought that it must have been some heavenly material. So in the night, if we collect the dew and fill them up in the glass bottles, then in the morning, as soon as the sun comes up, it will become lighter, and in its attempt to fly towards the heaven, it will perhaps be able to carry some man also along with him. So such type of the imaginations were made. Of course, no such experiment was possible at all.
For books by Mr. Madhav Khare, visit www.jyotsnaprakashan.com. For many other products, from paper gliders up to remote control planes, exhibitions, workshops, lectures, etc., write to hilarious.aeroclub@gmail.com or kharemg@gmail.com.